Unfortunately, the pandemic has slightly slewed things, in as much as it's hard to spend as much time with the Queen.
For years, the royal family has fought off whispers and rumours of secret finances, but this latest bombshell threatens to shake the monarchy to its very foundations. When Prince Edward's wife, Duchess Sophie, stepped forward with shocking evidence of stolen royal funds, the palace itself seemed to shiver. Her explosive claims didn't just expose hidden transactions, they pointed fingers where no one dared to look. Rumours are now swirling even louder as Princess Beatrice's husband becomes tangled in the scandal. Could this be the ultimate royal financial betrayal? The truth, it seems, is far darker than anyone imagined. The discovery that shook Buckingham Palace to its core happened in autumn 2025. London's chilly streets mirrored the tension brewing behind gilded walls and centuries of royal tradition. A quiet storm loomed over the monarchy. Poised and composed, Duchess Sophie, no stranger to the public eye, walked the East Wing toward the dimly lit Royal Finance Office, surrounded by ledgers and glowing screens. She faced a duty far removed from ceremonies and photo ops, a responsibility that could alter the royal story forever. The task seemed straightforward at first. A routine audit of Queen Elizabeth II's private estate funds, accounts steeped in centuries of royal trust. Sophie had done these reviews countless times. Orderly, predictable, the kind of work that never hit the headlines. But that morning, something felt off, as if the palace walls themselves were holding their breath. Sitting at the long oak desk, the quiet hum of computers the only soundtrack, rows of spreadsheets reflected in her sharp blue eyes as she traced every number with expert precision. Every line of data felt heavier than usual, loaded with secrets waiting to be uncovered. Everything was as it should be, until it wasn't. There it was, a name that shouldn't exist. Ellie Mozzi Limited. Sophie froze. The name tugged sharply at her memory. Eduardo Ellie Mozzi, the polished property developer married to Princess Beatrice. One of their own, and the figure beside it, staggering. A transfer worth millions had slipped through quietly just months earlier. No royal authorization, no notes, no explanation. Her pulse raced. In the high-stakes world of royal finance, where every pound carries centuries of history, this wasn't just suspicious, it was dangerous. It hinted at something deliberately hidden, something crafted to stay buried. The weight of centuries of expectation pressed down, demanding vigilance. Leaning closer, her breath fogging the screen, Sophie wondered, could it be an error, a misfiled entry, or the first thread of a carefully spun deception? Outside, a distant clock chimed. London's fog thickened, wrapping Buckingham Palace in ghostly silence. Sophie rose, shut the door, her instincts sharper than ever. Years in royal circles had taught her that the quietest scandals were often the deadliest. Every polished hallway could hide a secret. Every whisper might carry a threat. When she called in Henry Grayson, her trusted financial advisor, his reaction only deepened the unease. Pale and jittery, his eyes darted to the door before he whispered, "There are orders from the top, Your Royal Highness." Sophie pressed. "From whom?" Henry's voice fell, almost conspiratorial. Best not to ask too many questions. Some accounts are meant to stay closed. That single sentence sent a chill colder than the mist outside. Rumours had already been swirling about Queen Camilla's financial reshufflings, subtle shifts in assets since the king's health began to waver. Some said modernisation, others whispered power quietly changing hands. But this was personal. The line between loyalty and betrayal had never felt thinner. Sophie understood the stakes. One misplaced accusation could ruin reputations. Ignoring it could destroy the monarchy's already fragile trust. Later that evening, staring out from her private quarters over the palace gardens, the weight of her discovery pressed down. The leaves rustled like invisible pages flipping somewhere below. A black car slid away from the palace gates, headlights slicing through the mist. Inside, her heart thudded with quiet resolve. If corruption had crept into the royal bloodline, she would uncover it, no matter whose name graced that transfer. Turning back to her desk, her reflection merged with the cold glow of the computer screen. This ink stain would not fade unnoticed. As the clock struck midnight in Buckingham Palace, her vow echoed down every gilded corridor. a promise that beneath the crown's polished surface, the truth was about to awaken. As Sophie dug deeper into the anomaly, what did she uncover? How did the younger royals react to the culprits? The vibes and the shifting business vision for the royal family. The tension thickened like the fog outside Clarence's house. As autumn painted the trees in blazing golds, fiery oranges and crimson reds, a perfect mirror of the storm raging inside the shadowy investigation unfolded, each discovery more explosive than the last. The air itself seemed to hum with tension inside. Sophie moved like a woman driven by a quiet storm. Her desk was buried under spreadsheets, memos, and fragments of evidence only she could decipher. She noticed how every number told a story, and the stories weren't adding up. The weekly finance meetings had once been routine. Polished reports, polite smiles, murmured approvals. But lately, they had transformed into her battleground. At the head of the gleaming oak table sat Eduardo, handsome, confident, and always one step ahead. At 42, the Italian-born property mogul carried the effortless charm of someone accustomed to winning. His suits were flawless, his hair slicked back with surgical precision, and his eyes, those sharp, calculating eyes, never stopped assessing. He dazzled the room with smooth presentations about strategic modernization. Every slide glowed with promises, bold European expansions, revitalized royal assets, glittering profit projections. The younger royals nodded, eager, thrilled by his energy and by his promises to make the monarchy fit for the future. They saw a visionary. Sophie saw danger. Seated quietly at the far end, her high-necked navy dress immaculate, she watched, took notes, and waited. Numbers were her language, and they whispered secrets no one else could hear. A claimed £2.7 million, showing as only £1.9 million in the books, a sudden payment to a consulting firm linked to Eduardo's property group. Subtle, clever, almost invisible, until she noticed the pattern. Her hand barely trembled as she circled the discrepancies in red. By the end of the meeting, she already knew what her next move would be. That night, in the quiet of her Kensington study, she composed a string of emails to the royal auditors. Calm, precise, and devastating. She knew exactly what would follow. Within days, the counterattack began. Eduardo's tone shifted from polite to poisonous. He removed her from group chats, accidentally left her out of key briefings, and whispered to others that she was stuck in old ways. Yet Sophie endured in silence. Every attempt to isolate her only deepened her resolve. Then came the envelope. It arrived on one rainy morning, slipped under her study door. No stamp, no sender, just her name in block letters inside. A single sheet of paper. If you knew where the money really went, you'd never sleep again. Her breath caught. Beneath it were photocopied invoices, grainy but clear enough, an €850,000 transfer to an offshore account, signed EMM, Eduardo M. Ellie. Sophie's heart pounded. She locked the door, spread the papers across her desk, and began matching signatures one by one. The storm outside battered the windows, and she barely noticed. By dawn, she was certain the money trail was real. The atmosphere inside Clarence's house shifted. Whispers followed her down hallways. Beatrice, once warm, now seemed distant, defensive. Her eyes clouded with guilt or fear. Was she protecting her husband or herself? The palace advisor dodged her questions with diplomatic grace, yet his unease betrayed him. The walls were closing in. A week later, a second envelope appeared, this time containing a small USB drive. Her hand shook as she plugged it in, static. Then a voice, Eduardo's, calm, smug, discussing off-book deals, shell accounts, and redirected funds. The voice was unmistakable, but who had sent it? Sophie's reflection glimmered in the dark laptop screen, eyes hard, jaw set. There was no going back. Now she understood what was at stake for Eduardo. The crown was just a pawn in a larger game, a way to launder money, build influence, claim what could never truly be his for her. It was more than loyalty. It was justice. Each corridor now felt like a maze of secrets, each meeting a test of courage. The palace air grew colder, heavier, as though the walls themselves had learned to listen, and through it all, Sophie walked steady, every step echoing with purpose. The storm outside had reached its peak, rain thrashing off the Thames, But the real tempest was still to come. How did Sophie confront the culprit? Would he address her concerns or defensively reject her claims? Let's delve into the details of the confrontation that sparked a heated royal reaction. The tense confrontation ignited as the wind howled off the Thames that afternoon, rattling the ancient windows of Royal Lodge, warning that something momentous was coming. Sophie drove through the tall iron gates in her sleek black Range Rover, her camel coat sweeping behind her like a cloak of unshakable resolve, every second bringing her closer to the showdown. She hadn't called ahead. Sophie wanted this to hit like lightning, a confrontation that would peel back the polished royal facade and reveal what she already knew. Inside the private tea room, the scent of bergamot mingled with tension, thick as velvet. Beatrice sat by the fireplace, her usual warmth replaced by suspicion, her posture tight. Eduardo lounged beside her, outwardly calm, but a flicker of unease danced behind his charming smile. When Sophie entered, no one offered tea. She didn't sit. She placed a leather folder on the table and said quietly, "You need to see this." For a long, heavy moment, no one spoke. The crackling fire filled the silence, almost amplifying the tension. Then Sophie began. Her tone was measured, precise, each word cutting through the room like a surgeon's scalpel. Bank transfers, company links, missing funds, audio recordings. Every detail landed with surgical precision. Beatrice's composure shattered first. Her face flushed crimson, her flame-red hair framing her fury like a burning halo of betrayal. "This is absurd!" she cried, standing so fast the chair scraped the floor. "You've always resented him, our happiness, our modern vision. You think the exes are the only ones who understand integrity." Her voice trembled with rage, but beneath it lay fear. Eduardo's mask of charm began to slip. His eyes darted toward the folder, then away again. "You misunderstand the figures," he said smoothly, though the tension in his tone betrayed him. Every transfer was authorized. Investments, not theft. Sophie didn't flinch. Calm, steady, almost cold, she opened the folder and drew out a small recorder. She pressed play. Eduardo's voice filled the room, calm, deliberate, unmistakable. "Keep it under the radar. The board won't question royal funding." The words hung like smoke, curling around every corner. Beatrice froze, her fury evaporating into disbelief. Her husband's voice, once familiar and trusted, now sounded like a stranger's confession. Her eyes darted to him, searching for denial. He offered none. Hours later, in their grand apartment at St. James's Palace, Beatrice wandered aimlessly. Opulence suddenly felt hollow. The ticking clock grew unbearable. She reached for something, anything, to steady herself. Tidying Eduardo's desk, her fingers brushed an envelope tucked beneath the ledger. She paused at the royal seal, stomach knotting. Inside were contracts, official, stamped, bearing Eduardo's bold signature. The documents named his private company as sole beneficiary to a series of royal redevelopment projects, millions redirected under the guise of modernization. Her heart sank. It wasn't a misunderstanding. It was betrayal, a betrayal of her, of the crown, of everything their family name had been meant to protect. When Eduardo returned later, he carried his usual confidence, softening his tone as though words could mend what greed had broken. "These are necessary risks, Bea," he said gently, taking her hand. But his touch felt foreign, hollow. Her gaze drifted to the portraits lining the walls, faces of ancestors who had endured scandal, exile, and sacrifice to preserve the family's honor. Their painted eyes seemed to pierce her, silently asking what she would do next. That night, when the palace slept, Beatrice sat alone at her desk, barefoot, trembling, not with fear but with the ache of betrayal. She turned on her laptop, copied every file she could find, and sealed them in an envelope. As dawn's first light crept through the curtains, she penned a short note. "If you are right, protect this family no matter what it costs." She sent it to Sophie before she could change her mind. By the time the sun rose over the Thames, an unexpected alliance had been born, not from loyalty or ambition, but from shared pain in the quiet corridors of the monarchy. The storm Sophie had unleashed was only beginning to break. When, where, and how would Princess Sophie reveal the atrocities perpetrated by Princess Beatrice's husband? What would be the reaction at the meeting? The heart-wrenching betrayal was revealed in the hidden council chamber of Buckingham Palace, a room of ancient oak, polished brass, and generations of guarded secrets. Tension crackled like electricity before a storm. The meeting was not just another royal formality, it was Judgment Day, the end of pretenses and polished smiles. Sophie entered first, her face calm, eyes sharp as glass. Behind her came Princess Beatrice, pale but steady, and her husband Eduardo, whose charm seemed thinner than ever under the weight of accusation. The long table glowed under the chandeliers, papers stacked neatly, yet every page felt heavy with unspoken truths. The air seemed to hum with expectation. Every glance, every subtle movement, a silent accusation. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, ready to explode. As the session began, a series of charts and documents lit up before them. The projections revealed diverted funds, offshore accounts, shell companies registered in obscure towns across Italy. The pattern was unmistakable. Someone had been quietly siphoning millions, and the trail led undeniably to Eduardo Mozzi. Eduardo leaned back, maintaining elegant posture, masking the panic underneath. Then, with calm, carefully measured, almost calculated to appear genuine, he spoke. "This is absurd." His voice was smooth but strained, a deliberate smear meant to protect himself. "To destroy my reforms and reputation, I have enemies, and they found their way here." He met every stare with cold defiance, spinning words like silk. For a fleeting moment, some might have believed him. The royal outsider, wrongly accused, standing tall against hidden hands. But then his arrogance flared. "I have done nothing wrong," he declared, pounding the table softly for emphasis. "This is beneath the dignity of this institution." The air tightened. Beatrice had remained silent, hands clasped tightly in her lap. But inside, her heart thundered. Sleepless nights had left her replaying every inconsistency, every late call, every nervous glance. And when the final document arrived that morning, the one carrying the undeniable truth, she knew what she had to do. Slowly, she rose. The room fell silent. Her husband's confident expression faltered as their eyes met. Hers filled with grief, his with growing fear. From a thin folder, she drew a single contract, worn at the edges, but bearing the unmistakable royal seal. She placed it before him, without a word. The council members leaned forward. Eduardo's eyes darted across the page. His signature, bold and irrefutable, left no room for denial. Not a proxy. Silence descended like a shroud. The truth hung in the air, heavy, merciless, final. His face drained of colour, the mask of charm and intellect shattered. "This is a trick," he spat, voice trembling. "Now they've manipulated you, Beatrice. You know me better than this." His fist slammed the table, echoing through the chamber. Sophie flinched. An aide gasped. The protocol evaporated. The council's calm, formality, gave way to disbelief and pity. Then, in a low, sorrowful tone, the elderly head of the council spoke. "The Bank of Italy has confirmed the transfer's funds moved through subsidiaries into personal accounts disguised as consulting fees. The evidence is conclusive." Eduardo's shoulders sagged. The weight of exposure crushed him where he stood. Pride, his lifelong armour, crumbled into dust. Beatrice did not move. Her tears fell silently, glistening under the golden lights. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft, yet sharp as steel. "No one stains this house." Every word carried the agony of a heart breaking to protect something greater. Eduardo looked at her one last time, the woman who had once trusted him completely. She showed no anger, only sorrow too deep for words. Guards approached quietly, his empire, his name, his place beside her, all gone. The council chamber returned to silence, as if the walls themselves mourned what they had witnessed. Love had been sacrificed on the altar of duty. A royal legacy was saved, but 2 souls were forever scarred. Could this leave Princess Beatrice's marriage with an unforgettable blow? Could she ever bear such betrayal? Let's dig into the details of their already fragile marriage. Princess Beatrice's life once seemed like a modern fairy tale when she married Eduardo Mozzi in the summer of 2020. The world saw love and quiet elegance. Their wedding had been private, intimate, held under the soft glow of pandemic restrictions. No crowds, no flashing cameras, only close family, flowers, and whispered vows at a time when the world stood still. It seemed like a love story written calmly, defiantly against chaos. Afterward, Beatrice and Eduardo settled into what appeared to be a blissful rhythm. They welcomed 2 daughters, Sienna and Athena, often photographed as the perfect young family. Eduardo already had a son, Wolfie, from a previous relationship with architect Dara Huang, and by all appearances, Beatrice embraced him warmly. The blended family seemed harmonious. But as with many royal romances, not everything that glitters stays gold. Recent whispers in royal circles suggested Beatrice and Eduardo's marriage was showing cracks. The strain became particularly noticeable at Royal Ascot 2025, where the couple, normally poised and warm, appeared distant, tense, and unmoored, a subtle prelude to the storm that Sophie's investigation had now brought into full view. Their smiles were faint, eyes rarely meeting. Insiders suggested deeper, long-standing tensions contributed to the strain. Before Beatrice, Eduardo had been engaged to Dara Huang, mother of his son Wolfie, and they continued to co-parent amicably. A mature arrangement meant to maintain peace. Yet this ongoing relationship reportedly created friction in his marriage to Beatrice, leaving subtle, lingering shadows over their private life. Sources indicate that Beatrice initially tried to remain calm, seeking clarity and boundaries. Dara, according to insiders, may have felt that her relationship with Eduardo could have persisted, if not for Beatrice. These subtle dynamics occasionally resurfaced, quietly weighing on the couple's public appearances. Beyond personal tensions, royal pressures also loomed large. When Prince William eventually ascends the throne, cousins Beatrice and Ginny are expected to assume greater royal responsibilities. Though neither currently holds the title of a working royal, experts like Majesty Magazine's Ingrid Seward believe that could soon change, Seward explained. Beatrice and Eduardo will be valuable assets. It makes perfect sense for him to involve them. While this prediction might sound honourable, it could entirely reshape Beatrice and Eduardo's world. Beatrice, born into royal life, understands endless protocols and relentless scrutiny. Eduardo, however, built his success in private enterprise, an independent man whose life revolved around business, not palace schedules. Becoming the husband of a full-time working royal could demand adjustments he had never imagined. The glare of cameras, tabloids dissecting every move, and the expectation to smile even when the heart is heavy, all of it threatened to overwhelm. If emotional distance already existed, the added burden of royal duty risked widening the gap. Long trips, official events, and relentless attention left little room for intimacy. History shows even the most loving royal relationships bend under such pressure. Prince Harry and Meghan's experience stands as a vivid reminder of how quickly fairy tales can crumble into emotional battles. For Beatrice and Eduardo, the challenge was clear: balancing love, duty, and individuality. In a world where every gesture becomes a headline, their marriage began as a quiet promise amid global silence. 2 souls choosing love when everything else was uncertain. Now, years later, that silence felt heavier. Only time would reveal whether their story could rediscover its spark or fade into the long list of royal romances undone by expectation. For now, the once picture-perfect couple walked a delicate line between royal obligation and personal happiness, a reminder that even in castles, hearts ache like anyone else's. What lessons had the royal family learned from betrayal and scandal? Would the marriage survive the heat of Eduardo's deceit? Could he find any protection? The dramatic aftermath unfolded as venom and secrecy silently oozed through the polished marble halls of the palace. Its consequences were swift and unforgiving. No sensational headlines appeared in tabloids, no public shouting, only a quiet, merciless erasure. Eduardo, once admired and celebrated, was stripped of everything that had defined him. Titles, privileges, roles, access to the highest echelons of society, all vanished overnight. In the blink of an eye, he became a ghost in the world that had lavished him with praise and attention. The law followed unyielding, impartial procedures. Charges of embezzlement and fraud were laid bare. No royal favour could shield him, not a whisper of influence, not prestige, not even old connections. Once a symbol of ambition and social sway, Eduardo now had no protection. The crown's message was stark: no one is above accountability. Convicted, disgraced, he disappeared from tailored Savile Row suites and glossy society pages, transformed into a cautionary tale, a monument to unchecked greed. Beatrice, left amid ruins of love and trust, made a choice both heart-wrenching and profoundly noble. With her heart in tatters, she stepped away from the glittering obligations and public life of royalty to protect her children. From the stain of scandal, she retreated to a remote farmstead, where palace grandeur gave way to green fields, the honest rhythm of work and solitude that allowed reflection and healing. Her self-sacrifice whispered of a rarer form of princess duty, restoring honor not through triumph, but through enduring personal loss. Every choice became a silent prayer, a deliberate cleansing of the monarchy's dignity through her own suffering. In the aftermath, Sophie emerged like a force of resolve, her reputation unblemished, vindicated by meticulous evidence that left no doubt of the truth. The palace had survived, but the lessons of betrayal would echo for generations. Her role evolved far beyond the title of Edward's wife. She became the Duchess of Discipline and Honour, a figure whose very presence demanded transparency. No longer would whispers of overreach or overzealousness tarnish her influence. Every council meeting, every decision carried her firm, uncompromising mark of integrity. Dawn filtered through the tall windows of Windsor Castle, gilding her desk with light. Files lay pristine, past scandals washed away, replaced by a landscape of accountability and unshakable order. Eyes closed, Sophie reflected on the journey, the sacrifices made, the battles fought quietly in the shadows, the sleepless nights spent untangling webs of deception. Every signature she pressed, every mandate she enacted, was a testament to her commitment to protect the crown, to uphold truth, and to ensure vigilance would never waver. Yet perhaps the most defining moment, the one destined to echo through history, came when Princess Beatrice placed the contract bearing her husband's own signature on the closed council table. The act was a razor-edged combination of courage and merciless self-denial. She faced a room thick with tension, meeting the stunned eyes of her husband and the silent, scrutinizing gaze of the royal family. By choosing truth over love, duty over personal happiness, she shattered the life she had once believed unbreakable. She sacrificed the illusion of perfect love, the shared dreams of a future together, and the warmth of her own heart, all to preserve the integrity of the monarchy. In doing so, she carried a burden heavier than any crown, proving that heroism is often measured not in accolades, but in the quiet, excruciating choices made in service of something far greater than oneself. In the end, her decision echoed through the palace like a silent vow: duty above all, integrity above attachment, courage above personal loss. In the face of unbearable sorrow, she defended the crown, not with grand gestures or public speeches, but through the steady, unwavering power of truth, leaving behind a legacy of honor that would outlast even the sharpest pangs of personal heartbreak. So, what do you think about the possible effects of the scandal on Princess Beatrice's marriage? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story.